Hello and welcome to another edition of Turbo Delphi Demos. I'm Nick Hodges, the Delphi Product Manager, and today's topic is going to be properties. Now, we've been covering some of the issues with regards to object-oriented programming and how it works. We covered encapsulation, we covered inheritance, we covered polymorphism. Now we're going to look at some features of classes, some things you can do with your classes that are a little more powerful than just doing what we've done previously, which is declaring fields and methods. There's a third type of thing you can add to your properties, or to your, I gave it away, to your classes, and that is properties. Now, a property is much like a field. However, properties are fields that have functionality behind them, if you will. Okay, now, when we were building our classes, when we first looked at inheritance, we actually showed an example of adding some functionality to the employee class, which calculated the yearly salary. Now, managing salaries might be something that you would want to do on a class. So you might want to be able to set the salary, and you might not have to worry about, always making sure that you set the salary via the yearly salary or the monthly salary, whatever. You might not want to have to worry about that. So you might create a property called simply salary, and we'll call it a type T double here. And properties, again, are much like fields, but again, they have functionality behind them. So in order for a salary to be used as a field, we need to be able to read it, and we need to be able to write to it. So when we read something, we can call a function called readGetSalary. This is the proper way to declare a property. And when we write to it, the convention is to use a setter or setSalary. Now, once I've declared a property like that, I can again use Control-Shift-C, which will then declare, you'll notice, the get salary and set salary. And now if we come back up here, you'll notice that the get salary and set salary properties have been, or function methods actually have been declared for us. And they've actually been declared in a private section, and we'll talk about private and published in a subsequent demos. Don't worry about that right now. But for right now, what we're concentrating on is this line of code here. We've declared, again, let's review. We declared a property named salary of type double. If we want to get the value of the salary, we're going to call the get salary function. If we want to write to the value of salary, we can get the set value function. We call it, and we set it. And by default, the get salary function, or this is a method actually, I'm sorry. The get salary function is just a simple function that returns the type. The set is a simple procedure that takes as a single parameter a value of the same type as the property is here. So now all we need to do is somehow keep track of that information when we read and write inside the class itself. And in this case, we already have a value called monthly salary. Now, we're going to move that up into the private section here. Oops, I'm sorry, we have to declare it. We have to declare it before any other methods. There we are. Before any other methods. So now I can fill in the value for these two functions, get salary and set salary. Now, in fact, when we talk about salary, we're going to talk about it in yearly salary. So if we're going to, I should actually rename this yearly. And actually, I'll do it really quickly using the rename refactoring. I'll press this button here, and you'll notice that the IDE renamed yearly salary for me very quickly. Now, since we're dealing with yearly salary, we might also, however, want to know monthly salary at any given time. So we're going to continue to keep track of monthly salary. So when we get the salary, we'll say, okay, the result of this function to get salary is monthly salary times 12. Okay. Now here's the interesting part. If we set our annual yearly salary, we're going to have to do something, and this is called a little bit of a side effect, and this shows the power of properties, in that we can have side effects in the functionality behind them. For instance, the first thing we do is we know that we've got a value that we're passing in for the new yearly salary, so we need to set monthly salary. So we take the value and we divide that by 12. That, of course, will give us the stored value for the salary at any time, monthly salary. Okay, so what this means is, even though we're actually working with yearly salary here, internally, inside the class instance, we're actually storing monthly salary. And when we want to calculate and figure out yearly salary, we ask the property, yearly salary, to do the work for us. And inside the get salary function, we're going to multiply monthly salary by 12. And if we want to set an employee's salary, we set it to an annual value, which will then calculate the monthly internal stored value of salary, and allows you to set the salary or get the salary at an annual level. Okay, now I'm going to come down and remove the code that we had from our last demo here, and I'm going to type in some code that illustrates how these work. Now what I'm going to do is stop the video, type the code in, and then come back. Okay, I'm back. I've typed in a little code, and a couple of the lines are wide here, so I'm going to pin off the structure and the object inspector over on the side here. They're still available. If I hover my mouse over these little tabs, they slide out, and I can pin them back if I want. But I'm getting them out of the way because we actually aren't really working with them right now, so I want to have a lot of room for code. And what I've done here is I've just created a single instance of an employee named Frank Borland, and I've set his salary to fairly nice, 120 grand a year. And then I just wrote out a little write-line statement that makes a basic statement about that. So I'm going to run, and we'll see Associate Frank Borland's annual salary is $120,000. Now that works great, real basic, and you'll notice that I used the property yearly salary. Now, here's the fun part. After we do that, I'm going to declare another variable up here really quick called, just temp, to temporarily hold a value, and it's going to be of type double, and I'm going to write, instead of write line, I'm just going to write, I can't type, enter in a new salary, like so, and then I'm going to call readLin, and then I'm going to take readLin, let it take as a value temp, which means now I can type in a number that will be its new salary, and then I can go ahead and copy this down here. This is just we're building this incrementally. This isn't going to be real fancy here yet. You'll see in a minute what we're going to do. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go over and change it so that now it says it's new salary. And one more thing I need to do is actually the key point here, of course, is employee dot yearly salary gets the value of temp. Okay, and then of course one of the things I've forgotten to do in my code here, embarrassingly enough, is I have forgotten to do the try finally block, which you should always do. So I'm going to go employee free. So now you'll see that I can enter in a new salary of 180,000, and it says that my new salary is 180,000. Well, that's all well and good. I've now set and getted and setted, if you will, a value of this yearly salary property. But what I think is really interesting is that you might want to, at certain times, figure out what their monthly, draw on their monthly salary. Ask what that is without knowing what their yearly salary is. So we can declare another property called monthly salary. And this is going to require a little bit of a change in our code because we've already got an instance of monthly salary up here. So we're going to change this thing just slightly so that it represents a convention in Delphi, which is all field variables, i.e. a single simple field variable that's holding internal information, i.e. that monthly salary. Again, remember, we're holding it internally and it's not exposed. We're not dealing with it on the outside world. We're just holding it internally. Those are started with an F. And what that means is that now we have to come down and set F monthly salary. We have to use F monthly salary in the getter for get salary and for the setter in set salary. So the internal storage will be F monthly salary as in field called monthly salary. And instead now, the outside world, we see a monthly salary property. Now we're going to declare monthly salary, of course, to be a double, right? And we don't ever really want to be dealing with monthly salary, so we only want to be able to read it. So I'm going to declare it as a read-only property here. And a way I declare a read-only property is by just simply not giving the property a writer. So it has no set monthly property. So now the red underlined squiggly here is because we haven't yet declared anything called get monthly salary. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-C. That'll give me a stub again for the get monthly salary getter for the property. And I'm going to say result gets F monthly salary. So now I have a means of accessing monthly salary, even though I never really set monthly salary. Monthly salary again only gets set when you set the user's yearly salary. So now I'm going to add another line here called write len, and we'll say and his just for the sake of argument. Sorry again, some sexist stuff here. And his monthly salary is, put a $sign plus, and then we'll go, again, we have to change float to string. That's a library function that just converts a floating point number to a string value, and we'll pass in, of course, the monthly salary here. I need 2 parentheses on the end there, and I'll copy this same line down here so that now once I set the property, the new salary, I'm going to clean this up to make it look a little better in the console window. And now when I set the new yearly salary, you'll also notice that monthly salary as a side effect is changed. So once again, we'll run this, and you'll notice now that it says, at 120,000, his monthly salary is $10,000. So I enter in a new salary at 180,000, and you'll notice now that not only has the yearly salary been changed, but in addition, as a side effect, the setter property of yearly salary has altered the monthly salary field, and thus when it's exposed via the read-only property monthly salary, you get 15,000 there. Let's take another quick look at what happened there. The yearly salary has a setter method called a set salary, and what set salary does, again, is it takes the value that you are passing for its yearly salary and dividing it by 12 and keeps track of that in the F monthly salary field, the internal field here. So that when you get salary, you have to do the same thing. F12, multiply it by 12. And then, of course, if you want to access the value for the monthly salary, we're just simply returning that value. But since it's a read-only property, we can't actually set that value. So in the end, properties can have powerful functionality behind the setting and getting of values, and one of the powerful functionality is the ability to have a side effect that takes place. And in this case, the side effect is the change in the monthly salary when you change the yearly salary. So that's a quick overview of the power and utility of properties on your classes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.